congratulations go to Peter Perini for putting on a really good show here, and the Washington County Democratic Central Committee that supports them so well. It's an honor for me to introduce myself. I'm Jim Shea. I'm a lifelong Marylander. I practiced law for almost 40 years. It was interesting to hear the comparison in ages here. I'm an old fella, I guess, at 65. But 40 years of practicing law. I practiced throughout the state, including here in Washington County. I had a trial when I was a young assistant attorney general, reporting not to Brian Frosch, but one of his predecessors. I tried a case in front of Judge Cordovan. Now, trial lawyers only tell you about cases they won, so I won that one, and I thought Judge Cordovan was a great judge. I went on to practice law at a firm, and I became managing partner of that firm. It's Venable. When I became managing partner, it was a good, solid firm. That was 22 years ago. Over the 22 years that followed, I was managing partner or chair, and as I stepped down this past February, the firm was 700 lawyers. Its revenue was $500 million. We are the largest firm in Maryland and one of the largest firms in the world. I also did a lot of work in my off hours when I wasn't litigating and when I wasn't building the firm. I was chair of a good number of civic organizations, one of which was the Board of Regents, where I served for 10 years, and 4 years I was the chair. And I was lucky enough to serve with Tom Slater, who is a wonderful friend, and here tonight, my sponsor, Tom Slater. A hand for Tom Slater, a really good guy. It was a great experience. That too took me throughout the state, as well as to this county and other parts of Western Maryland, as I visited the regional center here in Hagerstown and Frostburg, which is a terrific school out in Western Maryland. So I've done what I can in the years that have gone by, and now I want to use the skill and experience that I have developed to do a number of things. First of all, as we've said over and again, we have a terrible problem in Washington, D.C., and frankly, because of him, throughout the world. If I've learned one thing in my experience as a trial lawyer and as a leader of a law firm and as a civic citizen, I have run into people like Donald Trump. I have opposed, what am I doing wrong to make it back up? Okay. This way. Okay, see, I follow advice. That's one thing that I can do. I listen and follow advice. Now, Donald Trump is the kind of person that I have faced many times in the litigation world. He is arrogant, he is rich, he is powerful, and he is unreasonable. And the one thing I have learned about people like that is you cannot compromise with them. You must fight them, and you must defeat them, because compromise is not to be had. Our Governor, Larry Hogan, on the other hand, sits silently as atrocity after atrocity occurs. That silence is not neutral. That silence enables Donald Trump and his ideals to happen. And as governor, I will not sit silent. I will fight. I will join arms with Brian Frosch, and we, together with the General Assembly and the rest of Maryland, will stand up to Donald Trump. But we can't be obsessed with Donald Trump. We have to fill the vacuum that our victory over him, and we will win, we will prevail over Donald Trump. We have to fill that vacuum with positive change moving forward. And I will propose to do so in many areas, but let me focus on two very quickly tonight. The first is public education. My experience as a regent and as chair of the regents brought me close to the public education world, and I see great, great promise. Now, a couple of my colleagues tonight have said, and I agree with them on almost everything, but they have said, twice now I've heard, that Maryland has fallen from first to fifth in public education. It's much worse than that. The poll on which we were first and then fifth was a poll that did not take into account performance by the students. The PARCC test take into account performance by the students, and half of the students in Maryland failed the PARCC test. We have not slid under Larry Hogan to 5th place. We have slid well into the 2nd and 3rd quartile of public education systems in the United States. And the United States public education system is abysmal when it's compared to the rest of the world. There is much that we have to do in public education. I will be bold. I will pursue a plan which will enable Maryland to not just have an okay public education system. I will pursue a plan bolstered by the Kirwan Commission that Senator Madaleno is on. It will develop a plan to make Maryland a world-class public educational system. But along with a focus on academics must be a strong focus on vocational education. From top to bottom, we can do much better. And we need to parallel what we do on the academic side with what we do on the vocational side. It's not a question of one being ahead of the other or wanting our children to do one or the other. It's to give people an opportunity to live life to the fullest, whatever career path they choose. The second area that I will mention tonight is economic development and job creation. Governor Hogan touted himself, and still does, as friendly to business. In fact, while he says 100,000 jobs have been created in Maryland during his tenure, those 100,000 jobs are 20% less than the national average. He touts what he's doing for Maryland working families. The average wage in Maryland during his tenure has gone down by $1 an hour. The national average has gone up by 50 cents an hour. It is completely unacceptable for Maryland to take such a mediocre, lagging performance, and as governor, I will not tolerate it. We will develop a plan that will move Maryland ahead. I have done a lot of strategic planning. I have built a firm that has employed literally thousands of people. I know how to build a plan, I know how to create jobs, and I will do that if elected governor of Maryland. Now, one final thought. As we surge ahead in public education, and as we have the kind of robust economy that we can have, this Donald Trump thing and the Larry Hogan silence will be something that we leave in the rear view mirror as we surge ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. It is now my pleasure to